ko sama xol yaatu na gudd ni otoraay waaye yaay dawal girl yo waaju ma bàyyee dunya la yow yëngal ma sama gaay yee fu ne la ñuy yëngal dunya ma bàyyee dunya la yow yëngal yo lii su la doy lu lay doy ma ko ndaw apa sama taay dara tuutul ci man loolu dëgg la may ma sama yee ko leen dama ni ndaanam ci mim réew séeréer ndax ma bañ may ma sama
yëngal gësam sañ sa yëkkati mbag doo seen daanaan yu mag yi mooy lu meer bi joxoon ñu dagg si sumaan la déggal dama naaw balaa ñu may tagg yow fenn nga demul te yàgg nga fi torop mel ni caamas digi wal fu soxla si ñun du ñoom du ñun ñoo ngi coob ñoom ñooy muñ maa ngi jaarle ñoom ñoo taayut xiif ak bekkoor xar seen tuñ yi bal sa bopp def la victime bi bëmbu flop amul si tim bi seen label mooy douce bi music tatouage nga si baat fit sa ay fan sa munuñ feesal pick up bés boo décidé dajale sa ay soppee di nga wéetal sa kër TDOM ba sa secteur duma ko ndaw maay seen biir infiltré mel ni Rainer maa fi mën a problème mais calculé ma nga def erreur
apa sama taay dara tuutul ci man may ma sama.
Let's go. This is your radio.
Broadcasting live from the Senegalese capital of Dakar.
Capital city of Senegal.
24 hours, 7 days a week, all year round. On 94.9 FM, this is West Africa Democracy Radio Dakar. We got you covered. We got you covered on all fronts. News, programs, special shows, and lots of all new music. From Dakar to Benin, from Nigeria to Ghana, Conakry, Bissau, Niger, Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Mali, Mauritania, Ouagadougou, Cape Verde to the Gambia. This is your radio. This is your voice.
Your voice.
This is West Africa Democracy Radio. And we are on air. We're on air. West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar. It's music.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org. WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Relative calm returns to Mauritania after deadly opposition protests against the re-election of President Ghazouani. A section of Burkina Faso's population demands that Captain Traoré rethinks his governance strategies.
Je pense qu'en prenant le statut du président du Faso,
I think that by taking the status of president of Faso, the president should still attempt to try to catch up with mistakes from the past.
Nigeria's national oil company declares a state of emergency on oil production in the country, and Ghana's population is forecast to hit 52 million by 2050.
In the projected 2030 will give us 37.24 million, 2040 44.47 million, and 2050 52.47 million.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast, and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. This edition begins in Mauritania, where a relative calm returned after deadly opposition protests against the re-election of President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani. According to the Ministry of the Interior, 3 people were killed in clashes with the security forces. The internet has been cut off throughout the country since Monday evening. Abdullahi Hassan reports.
The opposition leader, Biram Da Abeid, who came second according to the provisional results of the Electoral Commission, continues to claim victory in last Saturday's presidential election. He has called on his supporters to continue mobilizing peacefully in order to prevent their presidential victory from being stolen. In response to the outgoing president's outstretched hand, the opponent is not uncommunicative but rather calling for sincere dialogue. Last Tuesday evening, demonstrations continued in the streets of Nouakchott, the capital, and other towns in the country. 3 demonstrators were reported dead, 2 in a detention facility and another in a hospital, according to the Ministry of Interior. In a statement, the Mauritanian Ministry of the Interior added that the people arrested by the security forces were looting and vandalizing public facilities. However, the ministry announced that an investigation will be launched under the supervision of the court to determine the causes and circumstances of the deaths of the demonstrators. 2 security officers were also injured in clashes with opposition supporters in a country where internet has been cut since Monday evening.
Abdullahi Hassan Fight, that report. Let's head now in the Sahel, precisely in Burkina Faso, where a section of the population is demanding that Captain Ibrahim Traoré rethinks his governance strategies as the head of state. The call comes as Traoré begins a 5-year mandate as a military president. Last May, the recommendations of a national consultation extended the transition by 5 years. In addition to extending the transition by 5 years, one of the recommendations of the national consultation was to change Captain Ibrahim Traoré's status. He is to become president of the Republic of Burkina Faso rather than president of the transition. But since his takeover in September 2022, Burkina Faso has seen shrinking civic and media spaces, arrests and detention of dissenting voices and individuals critical of the regime. Rights violations heightened in the country with the drafting to the battlefield of activists and journalists for expressing their views. Issouf Ouedraogo is a journalist and political analyst in Ouagadougou.
Je pense qu'en prenant le statut du président du Faso,
I think that by taking the status of president of Faso, the president should still attempt to try to catch up with mistakes from the past. Because when you become a president, it means you have the impression that you are in a democratic power. But surely, there are those who don't have the same vision as those who lead us and have the right to say what they think is good for the nation. Currently, it's very difficult today in Burkina Faso to talk about democracy because Traoré will not hesitate to say that the problems you are facing today emanates from democracy. But I am fundamentally against this way of seeing things because I always said that it is not the system that is the problem, but the men charged with managing the system that causes the problem. We cannot play hide and seek with the system and in the end accept that this system is not at a certain point gripped.
Isu Ouedraogo is a journalist and political analyst in Burkina Faso. Still in the Sahel, reactions and concerns are growing in Mali over delay in the release of funds from the World Bank. 2 months ago, the country reached an agreement with the financial institution for the disbursement of $60 million, equivalent to 36 billion CFA francs, to support several projects. These funds should enable the national energy company EDM to purchase fuel in order to deal with the energy crisis marked by untimely power cuts. Questioned by the Transitional Parliament about these funds, which are still not forthcoming, Alucine Sano, the Malian Minister of the Economy, indicated that since the agreement with the World Bank, it has been difficult to mobilize these resources. According to one source, Mali has still not received these funds as it is still considering the 2 main conditions set forth by the financial institution. The first is to purchase fuel from member countries of the OMVS, of which Niger is not a member, while the World Bank's second condition is a reduction in the wage bill, a condition that the minister argued would entail massive layoffs within the public administration. The government of Niger on Tuesday announced the formation of a tripartite commission to address the crisis with Benin. This follows a mediation in Niamey led by 2 former Beninese presidents, Nasifori Soklo and Boni Yayi. The move could be a significant step towards restoring bilateral relations between the 2 states and ensuring the free movement of goods and services. However, there are concerns about the effectiveness of the Tripartite Commission and the strategies it plans to use, particularly amid the current oil crisis. Morgan Asogba is an international relations expert. He weighs in on the matter.
This initiative is a welcome initiative. Now, it could be constructive or even be harmful depending on how well was it prepared, because we've seen the two head of state moving to Niger and having at least a deal, if we can call it that way. But the question is, have they, ahead of this initiative of this trip, consulted the Benin authorities? Because if they have consulted the Benin authorities, getting them involved from the beginning of the initiative, this could easily allow the two sides to find a way forward. But if that has not been done, and they went ahead without consulting, it puts the situation in a risk, because that will depend on how the Benin authorities will take it.
Morgan Asogba is an international relations expert.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now take you to Nigeria. A rather faced with multiple social, economic and security challenges is yet to again hit with a new development as the National Petroleum Company declares a state of emergency on oil and its production in the country. Group Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mele Kari, disclosed this in a keynote address at the opening ceremony of the 23rd edition of the Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference and Exhibition in Abuja on Tuesday. WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja tells us more.
According to Mele Kari, Nigeria can produce 2 million barrels of crude oil daily without new rigs, but industry delays hinder progress. He made the declaration at the 23rd NNPC Limited's Oil and Gas Week, an annual event that brings together industry stakeholders to address challenges and opportunities in Nigeria's energy sector.
Of course, procurement, everybody says there are delays in procurement. Yes, there are delays because, and now I like to talk it frontally, all of us in the producing company have converted procurement into the business. It's not just NNPC, every one of us within our companies, and I've spoken this openly to all our partners. Now within your companies, you have principalities who will not let you complete your procurement, who will add costs to your costs. And now what Mr. President has done is taking out all the principalities. If you do, it's your choice.
Nigeria's loss of revenue in the oil industry jumped from $2.1 billion in 2019 to $22.4 billion in 2022, which only proves the importance of this year's conference theme, harnessing the potential of the oil and gas industry for economic growth and development. The week-long event will feature speeches, panel discussions and exhibitions showcasing innovative technologies and solutions in the oil sector. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
Ghana's population has surpassed 33 million and is projected to reach 52.47 million by 2050. That's according to latest figures from the Ghana Statistical Service. The report, titled Population Projections 2021 to 2050, is based on data from the 2021 Population and Housing Census and historical sources. It forecasts a steady increase over the next decade, with the population hitting 33 million by 2024 and surpassing 44.7 million by 2040. WADR's Nadia Tete explains more.
At the end of the 2021 Population and Housing Census, Ghana's population stood at 30.8 million. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, between 2021 and 2030, an average of 711,706 people will be added to the population each year, reaching 37.24 million by 2030. Deputy Government Statistician Dr. Faustina Frimpong Aingwa provided the details.
The 2021 Population and Housing Census gave us 30.832019 human beings in 2021. That is actual. In the projected, 2030 will give us 37.24 million, 2040, 44.47 million, and 2050, 52.47 million.
Additionally, The urban population is projected to grow from 56.7% in 2021 to 60.7% in 2030, intensifying population pressure on the Greater Accra region, the home of Ghana's capital city, Accra.
A small square kilometer, we have 1,600 plus. 2024, Greater Accra, you will be 2,000 plus per square kilometer. By 2050, 4,000 plus or 3,000 plus per square kilometer. Why? Because your land is fixed and more people are adding.
By 2025, the proportion of the population aged over 60 years is expected to rise to 10.8%, up from the current 6.5%. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Inim emphasized that these projections highlight the need for renewed discussions among the age of retirement and generally to tailor-made solutions to many of the country's pertinent problems. For WADR, Nadi Diteti, Accra.
Now, in a related development, the Gambia's Bureau of Statistics boss says 96% of the population in the country has been successfully enumerated in the just concluded National Population Census. BOS also confirms that it successfully enumerated 98% of households within the country. From Banjul, Sankula Janko has more in this report.
According to GBOS, the Geographic Information System category and synchronized data show that 99% of structures in the Gambia have been enlisted. The General Statistician of the Gambia Bureau of Statistics, Nyakasi Sanya, says over 95% of the population and households have been enumerated.
As of Monday, July 1st, 2024, data synchronized from the field showed that about 98% of households across the country have been enumerated, accounting for about 96% of the total population, which translates to 2,528,456 persons.
Meanwhile, despite the reported success, the GBOS chief said they still face some challenges.
We still face challenges in the census. We have received reports from the field that some of the devices are experiencing syncing issues. However, the data monitors, the CAPI technicians and the IT experts are working tirelessly with regional census officials to identify the affected tablets, fix these issues or retrieve the data manually. We are still experiencing resistance from certain codes of our communities and non-Gambians.
The official census enumeration period has formally concluded, marking a significant milestone in data collection efforts. However, to ensure comprehensive coverage, GBOS has initiated a follow-up process targeting the remaining households that have yet to be enumerated, expected to last for a week. This targeted efforts, according to the Bureau, aims to address any missed households and to achieve as close to full coverage as possible. The follow-up process involves dedicated outreach teams visiting specific households that were initially missed during the main enumeration phase. For Newslink West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Relative calm returns to Mauritania after deadly opposition protests against the re-election of President Ghazouani. A section of Burkina Faso's population demands that Captain Traoré rethinks his governance strategies. Nigeria's national oil company declares a state of emergency on oil production in the country. Still ahead in the news, government of Sierra Leone enacts law banning child marriage. We do have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Thanks for rejoining us, and remember we are streaming live on YouTube at WADRL and Facebook WADRL English Service. Before heading to Sierra Leone, let's take you to Liberia, where the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, on Tuesday commenced a 3-day in-country facilitation workshop for the Commission's Protection and Human Security Integrated Consolidation Mechanism. This forum is aimed at reviewing the mandates and functions of the National Center for the Coordination of Response Mechanisms in Liberia concerning the ECOWAS framework. From Monrovia, Darlington Pogba reports.
At the start of the exercise, a representative from the office of Liberian Vice President Jeremiah Kun, Prince Bayu, called for collaborative efforts to address the different issues that constitute regional security threats.
As these areas of national concern remain the growing security threat to our sub-region, the relevance of our presence in this room should unite us more for perseverance and concerted efforts to advance strategic mitigation plans that will promote harmonious national security and regional peace.
Liberian Justice Minister OSIWA reaffirmed his government's commitment to the ECOWAS Protection and Human Security Integration Considered Data Mechanism.
It's not merely a framework, but it's a lifeline for our nation as it embodies our collective resolve to prevent and respond to the numerous challenges that threaten the well-being and security of our people. The establishment operationalization of the National Secretariat of the ECOWAS Protection and Human Security Integrated Coordination Mechanism in Liberia are not just procedural milestones, but they are vital steps toward a safer, healthier, and a more just society.
Also speaking at the event was Nat Walker, political advisor to the ECOWAS Commission Liberia's office. He appreciated the Liberian Authority for its commitment to addressing the many human security issues in the country.
Let me inform you that the ECOWAS Resident Representative Office in Liberia and the entire Commission is standing behind you and ready to provide all of the support needed to ensure that the mandates are executed to the fullest for the good of Liberia in our sub-region.
The workshop, which brought together stakeholders, will end on Thursday with the adoption of an action plan to guide the implementation of the roadmap on the protection of human security. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
Now, the government of Sierra Leone took a great leap forward Tuesday after the presidency adopted a law banning child marriage in the country. Enacting the law, President Julius Maada Bio said, "And I quote, freedom has come for our women and an accomplishment that will define my administration." Bio declared during a ceremony organized by West African First Ladies in Freetown. The law endorsed last month by the National Assembly criminalizes marrying girls below 18 with jail terms of at least 15 years or a stiff fine of more than $2,000. The law also bans men from living with underage girls and sets out a compensation package for those who are married or fall pregnant before turning 18. According to reports, thousands of girls in Sierra Leone are married off before they turn 18. President Bio urged the country to nurture equality by eliminating all forms of violence and exclusion of vices against women.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's now head to Accra, Ghana, and join Nadia Titi for the press review.
Greetings and welcome to the newspaper review segment with me, Nadi Ditete, coming to you live from Ghana's capital, Accra. Let's find out what the dailies are reporting today. We'll start off with a major newspaper in the country, the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page, achieving the SDGs. Extend debt relief to Africa. President Akufo-Addo tells development partners. Also here on the front page, ambulances were not fit for purpose. GBC rolls out digital media structure and irregularities decline in latest Auditor General's report. That's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. To the Ghanaian Times newspaper front page, Accra begins major cleanup exercise. Regional Minister Gamanche, Accra Mayor, lead efforts to clean city of fields. Also here on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, at Maiden Quarterly Economic Roundtable, stop announcing new taxes to increase revenue, rather improve efficiency in tax collection. That's according to an expert, Dr. Soa. Also here on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, let's prioritize human capital development towards attainment of SDGs. That's President Akufo-Addo appealing to fellow African leaders. Final story here on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, diligently scrutinize financial agreements and loans before approval. Asante tasks Parliament. That'll be it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Now to the Daily Guide newspaper front page. 2.37 million euro ambulances not fit for purpose. Jakpa admits that's a case ongoing in court in which the minority leader is also standing trial. Also here on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, government launches 1.5 million Ghana cedis hydro fund, and NDC MPs boycott vetting. Final headline here on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, EC reopens transfer of votes. Now to the Herald newspaper. Front page, Judicial Council boldly stands up to Akufo-Addo and Chief Justice, rejects additional Supreme Court judges, and Dubai company storms court next Thursday on ambulance case as Jakpa reviews government elements dumped accessories at Tema Port. Also here on the front page of the Herald newspaper, NHIS on new trajectory under Da Costa Abuaji. That's it for what the dailies are reporting today in Accra, Ghana. My name is Nadi Tete. Is back to you in the studio.
Thanks to Nadi Tete for the press review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
This segment of Newslink highlights the formation of a tripartite commission to resolve the current crisis between Niger and Benin, which has lasted for several months. On Tuesday, the government of Niger announced this formation of the commission, and it follows a mediation in Niamey led by two former Benin's presidents, Nasifori Soglo and Boni Yayi. This move could be a significant step towards restoring bilateral relations between the two states. However, there are concerns about the effectiveness of the Tripartite Commission and the strategies it plans to use. Morgan Asogba is an international relations expert. He tells WADR the Commission could fail to meet its objective if the authorities in Benin are not willing to resolve the crisis.
This initiative is a welcome initiative. Now, it could be constructive or even be harmful depending on how well was it prepared, because we've seen the two head of state moving to Niger and having at least a deal, if we can call it that way. But the question is, have they, ahead of this initiative or of this trip, consulted the Benin authorities? Because if they have consulted the Benin authorities, getting them involved from the beginning of the initiative, this could easily allow the two sides to find a way forward and to help the people to get back to the normal.
Does it appear as though the authorities in Benin are unwilling to form part of this commission to ensure that this crisis is resolved?
And this is exactly where the harmful aspect of the situation that I was talking about earlier on could appear. If the authorities have not been involved, it could be a challenge in bringing the authorities to follow the strategy that has been negotiated and already accepted by Niger. But still, there is room for hope and there is room for constructive attitude. So this will all depend on how well the interests of the authorities of Benin are taken into consideration in the deal that has been decided on by the two former head of state and the Niger party.
What could be the worst case scenario if this Tripartite Commission fails to resolve the current crisis?
The worst case scenario will definitely be a no from the Benin authorities' side when it comes to the tripartite commission that has been suggested to handle the situation and bring it to a normal one. And that worst case scenario will just last the time for the parties to be conscious or to find an agreement, or simply the time that the leaders that are leading both parties, one of them is taken, let's say it's changed through election, or there is a dynamic that will come and make sure that we have different leaders. Because this is more a matter of idiosyncrasy than a matter of state.
Morgan Asogba is an international relations expert. Here is Sankule Janko with sports news.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The head coach of Cote d'Ivoire national football team, Emas Faye, has been named as one of the assistants for the 2025 Morocco CAF qualifiers draw. The Ivorian Faye will arrive in South Africa on Wednesday, ahead of Thursday's draw according to CAF official website. The qualifiers draw, as reported by CAF, will take place in Johannesburg, South Africa on Thursday, 4 July 2024. Elsewhere, South African side Black Leopards Football Club has announced the appointment of Ghanaian coach Maxwell Konadu. According to media reports in Ghana, Mr. Konadu's appointment was confirmed by the club after reports linking him to the South African top-tier side. Black Leopards FC, in an official announcement on Tuesday, said coach Maxwell Konadu has signed a 3-year deal. And in Euro 2024 Championship, Netherlands secured qualification to the quarterfinals after an impressive 3-0 win against Romania. Cody Gakpo put Netherlands ahead before Daniel Malen scored a second-half brace to seal the victory. Meanwhile, Turkey beat Austria 2-1 to book a place in the quarterfinals. Turkey will take on Netherlands in the last 8 of the tournament. That's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maudoju for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening.